Good morning, everyone. So today we are going to start our studies. So first of all, we will have an introduction with all our units that we are having in our syllabus. So we have 5 units. We begin with the reproduction, then genetics and evolution. Third one is the biology and human welfare, biotechnology and its applications, ecology and environments. So we have a brief introduction each of them. Why? Remember, they look 5 minutes, but if we study them descriptively, we will find that they all are interrelated. Right? I will give you an example where you will find that each organism comes under all these units to study. So reproduction, a unit where we discuss about reproduction, methods of reproduction, different types of strategies opted by the different organisms in favorable conditions and unfavorable conditions. Then after we will be talking about genetics and evolution. Then we talk about genes, DNA, RNA, variations, this diversity that we observe in nature. Then evolution. Evolution means we will study about the evolution or origination of the different organisms from the previous ones. Then after we will be having third unit, biology and human welfare. Dear children, I am sure you would be hearing the words like virus, coronavirus, antibiotics, vaccine, immunity. All these things will be discussed in this unit, so you can understand the importance of the knowledge these days we are hearing. Thereafter we have fourth unit called biotechnology and its applications. This is the unit where we discuss about the techniques, technologies, tools which are highly helpful in the production of particular organisms for a particular purpose, then particular medicine, particular antibiotic, or number of things. Then finally we talk about the ecology and environment, where we discuss about nature, pollution, environment, atmosphere, ecological balance, which got disturbed before this corona. Now the nature is trying to setting it up in a maintenance, right? So these are the 5 units that we are going to study throughout the year. In this, the reproduction carries 14 marks, genetics 18 marks, biology and human welfare 14 marks, biotechnology 10 marks, ecology 14 marks, and total it comes to 70 marks. So this is the marks distribution of your syllabus and your units. Then after we have to discuss about this particular unit called reproduction, right? Now we come to the reproduction unit and the issues. In the reproduction, we will be having 4 chapters. Let's have a brief knowledge about all of them. First chapter is about reproduction in organisms. Second chapter is about reproduction, especially sexual reproduction in plants or angiosperms or flowering plants. Then third chapter is about human reproduction. Here there is only one way, that is sexual reproduction. And fourth chapter is about reproductive health. What I say, reproductive health, where we discuss about 2 topics that you have studied earlier: STDs, sexually transmitted diseases, and birth control methods. Along with these 2, we will be having a new topic, very new topic, and a very important innovation, or you can say discovery, invention, whatever you want to say, of the scientists, where the couples are getting children, those who are suffering from any problem. You would have heard about the word like test tube baby, IVF, right? That comes under a topic called ART, assisted reproductive techniques. Okay, so these are the 4 chapters that we have to study. A brief introduction I have given to you. Now we begin with the chapter reproduction in organisms. Reproduction in organisms. So we begin with reproduction in organisms. Dear children, the chapter looks very simple and very short, but this is a very important chapter. In this chapter, we are provided with the terminology, the terms, the basic concepts that we use for the reproduction and the further coming 3 chapters. Without the knowledge of this chapter, you will not be able to understand the further 3 chapters easily or firmly, perfectly. So it is very important to understand this chapter. Even these terms will be used in the complete syllabus. Okay, so be alert. So in the reproduction in organisms, we begin with the term reproduction. Look the way I am speaking. Reproduction. Reproduction. Okay. So if I break this word from here, it comes re means again. And production, you all know, this is the production of something or synthesis of something. So what the meaning we find? Production of something again and again. Production of something again and again. But how to define? What will be the exact definition of the reproduction? Because reproduction is also going on in a factory, in an industry of the certain things. They are also producing again and again. Should we call it reproduction? Yes, of course. But how to differentiate in biology? We will write, just one word will be enough to differentiate it. A biological process in which organisms produce new individuals like their own. What does it mean? Elephant produces elephant. Human beings produce human being. A rat producing rat. Plants are producing plant. Neem is producing neem, etc. Number of examples you all know. So what is the definition? A biological process. That means organisms are involved, in which organisms produce new individuals like their own. So this is the definition. But dear children, here I would like to give you 2 concepts regarding the reproduction. Very important. You will not find them in the books. What they are? Number 1, reproduction is not a thought. Reproduction is a tendency. It is an inbuilt tendency given by the nature to each and every organism to reproduce. Why? Because nature wants to keep all the species alive on earth or in the nature. Why? Because to maintain the balance, ecological balance, energy balance. Hence the nature wants to keep them alive, and this is the inbuilt tendency provided too. Second concept. This is also not available. You just think about it. Have you ever seen that human beings produce just 1 in ones? On the other hand, dogs produce number of in ones. But after some time, we observe that the one produced by the human being is surviving well. But in case of dogs, out of 8 to 10, just 2 or 3 are surviving. What is that? This is the nature's balance. What is the balance? Nature knows that in the dogs, the survival rate is very less. Hence, they are provided with the higher reproductive rate. Whereas in the human beings, the survival rate is very high. Hence, they are provided with a very less reproductive rate, except a few cases where we find the twins. So, this is a biological process in which organisms produce new individuals like their own. Now we come to the importance of sexual or asexual reproduction, or we can say what is the need of reproduction. What is the need of reproduction? So dear students, the need of reproduction is to continue the generation or species. Without reproduction, this is not possible. So to continue the generation, continuation of the generation, continuation of the species, reproduction is the process. Got it? Now we move on to the next. When we study about the reproduction, for the convenience, for the better study, we study all types of reproduction, especially sexual reproduction, in one term that we call lifespan. Lifespan. You all know the meaning of span, that is duration. So what is the lifespan? The time period between birth and death. What is lifespan? The time period between birth and death. So, to study all the events between birth and death, we have classified them into the different stages. Before we move on to them, look, the interesting facts. Lifespan can be of 20 minutes. It can be of thousands of years. Depends on the species, depends on the organisms. I give you an example, very interesting example of the mayfly, or you may call it one-day insect. What we may call it? One-day insect. It has just 24 hours life cycle. 24 hours life cycle. Just imagine, within 24 hours, it has to complete the whole life cycle of it, and the new generation is coming. Nourishment, reproduction, growth, maturity, everything will be done within 24 hours. How prompt they are, how efficient they are, how perfect they are towards the life. Are they getting it from brain? No, this is the nature's tendency, okay, provided by the nature itself to each and every organism. Now we move into the lifespan, the different stages coming in the lifespan, okay. Now see, when we study the lifespan of any individual, we will study after birth the organisms enter into juvenile phase or vegetative phase. In case of animals, we use the word juvenile phase. In case of plants, we use the vegetative phase. Right? After this phase, the organism will enter into reproductive phase. Very easy, not very tough. Reproductive age. All the stages have their certain characteristics, right? Reproductive age, then the organism will move into aging. Then after it will move into senescence. And then ultimately it will lead to death. What is that? Birth. After the birth, the organism will enter into juvenile phase in animals, vegetative phase in plants. Now what is that? Before reproduction, after birth, before reproduction, all the events that are occurring in the life of an individual are studied under the juvenile phase in case of animals, and in the vegetative phase in case of plants. After that, organism will enter into the reproductive phase. What is the meaning of reproductive phase? When the organism is capable to produce the new individuals or the new ones. That is called the reproductive phase. Now, just recall the knowledge of class 10th. If you remember, we have heard a word called puberty in human beings. After puberty, the human beings become mature to reproduce. Here, the age before puberty is called juvenile phase in human beings, and in angiosperms before flowering is called as vegetative phase, right? Then after a reproductive phase where the organisms produce new ones. Then after, the organism will enter into the aging phase, when the organs start becoming deteriorated. Deterioration, that means slight destruction of the organs. But on the contrary, there is a slight chance of reversal. Organisms can reverse the capacity. That means can become better. But once they enter into the senescence, after aging, senescence, no chance at all. the organism will lead to death. Here the complete destruction of the organisms, the capacity is lost by the organs and the organism leads to death. So these are the different stages: juvenile or vegetative, reproductive, aging and senescence, which are studied under the lifespan topic. Dear students, death, a very sad word, nobody likes it, but in the concept of nature, death is an important part. Without the death, how the recycling will go, how the nutrients will be provided to the coming up generation, whether they are plants or animals. So that is an important part. Okay, dear students, this is enough for today. In the further video, we will be talking about the types of reproduction, asexual reproduction, sexual reproduction, their different methods. Till then, remain safe, stay at home. Thank you.